Hi, everyone. Uh, Here to talk to everyone today about the subject I haven't seen too much information on, an issue that I've had for the longest time when learning to play guitar, and something I've finally resolved. And it has to do with your fingertips, particularly your calluses. I found for the longest time that when I play for extended periods, my calluses would really build up, and then all of a sudden they would shred to pieces, and I'd have to start over again. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I tried Googling it. I've seen a few people asking those questions, and people really not able to provide effective answers. And I believe that I found a solution for it. Hopefully, this will be helpful to you if you're experiencing this issue. Uh, so here goes. So again, what would happen is I'd be playing for either on my own or when we could jam in person. I'd start playing, get really excited. You know, when you're playing in a jam or band situation, the adrenaline starts to flow, and you start playing, and after a while, all of a sudden, the calluses would build up really big, and they'd shred, and they'd fall to pieces, and you'd have like skin particulate all over the fretboard. It was quite embarrassing, quite gross, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So it was three things that I had to change in order to make that issue go away. The three things are: first, not pressing down so hard when you're fretting the note. The second thing was bending technique. Had terrible technique. And the third thing was pull-off technique. So all three things are technique related. So essentially I was doing it to myself. And once I modified my technique, the issue essentially went away. So first thing, just fretting notes. Yeah, again, particularly when in jam situation, the adrenaline starts to flow, you really get excited, and particularly with soloing, you want to go crazy and do stuff. I like rock and metal, and I make attempts at shredding. I try to play really fast. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, uh, like most people, we just try to make things that sound good. You try to experiment and that type of stuff. And I found once I kind of curtailed that and I said, listen, be conscious of how hard you're fretting, and do fingering exercises to make it second nature or give you a muscle memory on how to fret. So I just spend hours, especially in front of the TV, just noodling, just kind of just fretting away, just trying to focus and be conscious on fretting lighter and lighter, and just provide enough force to just sound the note and no more. Again, I tended to be very heavy-handed, and that heavy-handedness really contributed to my fingertips shredding to pieces and a lot of issues. So that's the first thing I did. A second thing, again, had to do with bending. Again, I found particularly with my middle finger, I would be using just the one middle finger to bend up. The one solo I like to play a lot is a solo from Iron Maiden, Stranger in a Strange Land. And there's a section there where Adrian Smith does these pull-offs. And when you do that, you got to use the middle finger. And I found when I played that a lot, that particular finger would shred to pieces, or that callus. And it was always the same spot. And I always tend to fret that in the corner, so it was a tiny bit of surface area. And yeah, over time, it would shred. And I would use the same technique when I tried to bend do different solos. So the first thing I did was I bent less. So when I tried to improvise a solo, instead of going crazy trying to sound all bendy and stuff like that, I made a conscious decision to say, you know what? I'm not going to bend. I'm just going to see if that makes a difference. And it did. So I knew my bending technique was terrible. So then what I started to do was I do 2 or 3 fingers when I bend. So then I had to be more conscious of when I wanted to use a bend to make sure my hand was positioned properly. So instead of going all willy-nilly all over the fretboard, trying to be all Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, I said, you know what? I'm just going to try to be more melodic with things and slow down. And when I did that, I was more conscious of my finger placement, and I found that helped relieve the issue. And the third thing was on the pull-offs. Again, I had terrible technique. I found when I pulled off, my fingers tended to drag and kind of scratch the calluses off. So through all the bending I would do, it would damage the callus, and then finally, with my pull-off technique, it would just shred right off. And I found I was pulling off like crazy. I didn't know what to do. I'm just, you throw technique at the wall. You figure, hopefully it sounds good. Again, more conscious of technique, and not go so crazy, and just try to modify and try to find a proper technique to not be so aggressive or to rub the calluses off. I can't explain what it was. You just sit there, you slow things down, and you just practice technique until you find something that works, and you say, okay, great, this is not being as abrasive on my fingers. Start slow, and over time, the speed will come. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice I heard is Steve I, and he says, you know what? A lot of people, they try to gain speed. They'll just practice and they'll go to just to the edge of their ability, and they'll try to push that envelope, and that doesn't really get you very far. And he said, you know what? Slow down, focus on technique, focus on properly intonating the notes, and do lots of practice. And over time, the speed will come. If you try to push the envelope, you find you keep hitting the wall and you get frustrated. And that's what I found. And I found when I slow things down and focus on technique, and then it becomes muscle memory, and then the speed starts to come. Again, we all can't be shredders. I love listening to it. I guess over time it'll come. But right now, I'm just trying to focus on technique. And those three changes that I made, I find are helpful. A, don't press down so hard. B, modifying my bending technique so that I support the fingers. I don't just use one all the time. And third, my pull-off technique, so I stop being abrasive on my fingertips. Those three things I find were helpful. Hopefully you find them helpful as well. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. Thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.